If you're in your 50s or 60s, watch this. Life lessons from 70-year-olds. We have dedicated the last decade and a half to working closely with clients in their 60s and 70s. Through countless conversations and reflections on their life journeys, we've gathered invaluable insights. If these wise individuals could turn back the clock and offer guidance to their 50-year-old selves, these are the profound pieces of advice they would share. There are 10 crucial lessons here, and I must confess, the 7th one is something I personally grapple with, echoing a common pitfall that many retirees encounter. While it might be too late for some to fully implement these changes, it is certainly not too late for you to benefit from this wisdom. Let's delve into the first piece of counsel. Be aware of the 3 stages of life and don't miss the magical 4th stage. This initial piece of wisdom often resonates most powerfully with those already in their 70s or even 80s as they reflect on what they've experienced. It speaks to the awareness of life's distinct stages and the critical importance of recognizing one truly magical period that, regrettably, lasts for only a fleeting moment. As 70-year-olds cast their gaze back, they typically identify 3 major phases. The first stage, often spanning their 20s and perhaps into their 30s, is characterized by an abundance of time and robust health. They were young, full of energy, and had the freedom of youth. However, this was also a time when financial resources were typically scarce, as they were just embarking on their careers and building their foundations. Moving into what we might call midlife, typically their 40s and 50s, they found themselves beginning to accumulate wealth and make significant financial strides. Health generally remained good, still in their prime. Yet, this stage often presented a stark new challenge, a severe lack of time. The demands of a burgeoning career, raising a family, and myriad responsibilities consumed most of their waking hours, leaving precious little room for personal pursuits or hobbies. The third stage, usually following retirement in their 70s and 80s, brings with it a return of ample time. With careers concluded and financial stability often achieved, there's a newfound freedom. However, this period often introduces a decline in health. Physical limitations may begin to emerge, or they simply start to notice the natural changes that come with aging, which can restrict certain activities. But there is a magical, often overlooked 4th stage, an almost mythical sweet spot that exists between these phases. This is the period, ideally in one's 50s or early 60s, where there's an optimal balance. Sufficient time, adequate financial resources, and still enough youthful health and vitality to actively pursue desired experiences and adventures. We frequently observe individuals inadvertently bypassing this phase, remaining so engrossed in their routines that they perpetually postpone that dream trip, delay that exciting adventure, or put off engaging in active hobbies. For instance, someone in their early 60s is far more likely to embrace a walking tour of Paris or explore international cities with vigor than someone navigating their late 70s or 80s, where such activities might demand significantly more effort and planning. This advice serves as a potent reminder not to let this unique window of opportunity slip away. Don't forget the 3 types of time: prioritize recovery and renewal. Building seamlessly on the understanding of life's time-centric phases, the second crucial piece of advice we glean from those in their 70s is to never overlook the 3 fundamental types of time in your life. It's an all-too-common tendency to heavily prioritize 2 of these and entirely neglect the third. Such an imbalance, however, can ultimately undermine the effectiveness and enjoyment of the other 2, leading to burnout and dissatisfaction. To simplify, these 3 essential categories of time are time dedicated to your career or professional pursuits, time invested in fostering and nurturing your relationships, be it with family, friends, or partners, and finally, the category most often overlooked, recovery or renewal time. This third type of time is the fuel that recharges your spirit, replenishes your energy, and sustains your overall well-being. The collective wisdom from the 70-year-olds we've known emphasizes that, particularly during your busiest working years, which for many of us is right now, it's imperative to not only identify what truly renews you, but also to consciously prioritize it. What activities genuinely bring you joy and peace? What makes time seem to fly by, leaving you energized rather than drained. This could be anything from a peaceful walk in nature, engaging in your favorite workout, a game of tennis, hiking a scenic trail, immersing yourself in a craft like woodworking, or even the invigorating practice of cold plunges and saunas. The key is to understand what truly rejuvenates you and then deliberately carve out space for it in your schedule. Consider the insightful perspective of a 55-year-old client who recently rekindled his childhood passion for rock climbing. He had pursued it avidly in his youth through his teens and 20s before it faded into the background amidst adult responsibilities. Now he's diving back into the sport with renewed fervor, finding it becoming an increasingly central part of his identity, even surpassing the importance of his career. His profound advice was to conceptualize your identity and consequently your time allocation as a pie chart. While his career and family commitments still occupied substantial slices and fitness and faith were important, he intentionally sought to expand the rock climbing segment. He even considered reducing the portion dedicated to his career to accommodate this growing passion, recognizing that rock climbing, unlike swimming or biking, is not a forever sport that one can typically pursue into their 70s or 80s. He understood the urgency of embracing it now. It's okay to say no more often. The third piece of advice, frequently echoed by our older clients, is a powerful lesson in self-preservation. It is perfectly acceptable and indeed often necessary to say no more often, particularly as you navigate your 50s. Reflect on the first half of your life, especially your 20s and 30s. During that formative period, you likely said yes to a multitude of opportunities, invitations, and commitments. And rightly so. Those affirmative decisions were instrumental in opening doors, building your career, expanding your network, and ultimately shaping the successful individual you are today. However, as you transition into the second half of life, a crucial shift in perspective is required. It's time to recognize the profound importance of respecting your own needs, desires, and boundaries. Prioritizing that essential recovery and renewal time, which we just discussed, often necessitates declining other commitments. This means it's absolutely fine to say no to certain social obligations, extra work projects, new ventures that don't align with your deepest priorities, or even requests from friends if they don't genuinely serve your well-being. The goal is to consciously choose activities that genuinely bring you joy, peace, and fulfillment, rather than simply responding to external pressures or expectations. Embrace the liberation that comes with setting boundaries and safeguarding your precious time and energy. Remember, time is infinitely more valuable than money. Here's the fourth profound insight from those in their 70s and 80s for individuals in their 50s. Unequivocally, time is infinitely more valuable than money. The common adage, time is money, is fundamentally flawed and misleading. While money, particularly at this stage of life, might be working for you, generating more money through investments without your direct effort, time behaves in a starkly different manner. Each passing day, we possess less and less of it. Time is the ultimate finite resource, a non-renewable asset that cannot be manufactured or replenished. It is, in fact, the scarcest asset we have, far more precious than any retirement account balance or investment portfolio. Your 50s represent a pivotal decade, a crucial crossroads that will largely dictate the trajectory and quality of the second half of your life. This is why intentionality is paramount. From this point forward, time will only accelerate, likely at a pace that will surprise you, even if you already perceive things moving quickly. This accelerating perception of time is a consistent theme we hear repeatedly from those who have lived longer. Understanding this intrinsic value of time is not just a philosophical concept. It's a call to action to consciously invest your remaining years in what truly matters. You can't make more time, but you can slow it down or buy it. Following on the heels of realizing time's ultimate value, there's another powerful piece of advice. While it's true that we cannot literally create more time, we possess the ability to either slow it down or buy it. Let me illustrate with a compelling example from a client who mastered these concepts. Consider your lifespan as a continuum, a period of healthy, active years, followed by a potential phase of slowing down due to health challenges, and then an eventual end. What if, in your 50s, you made a deliberate decision to cultivate a consistent habit of fitness, incorporating cardio, strength training, or both? Numerous studies overwhelmingly suggest that such an investment in your physical well-being can significantly extend the duration of your healthy, vibrant years. It can effectively lengthen the active segment of your life, potentially diminishing the period of decline and improving the overall quality of your remaining time. While none of us can predict tomorrow, investing time and resources into health has a proven track record of yielding immense returns in terms of vitality and extended functional years. There's also a second powerful way to gain more time. You can buy it. In fact, you're likely already doing this without fully realizing it. Imagine you need an oil change for your car. You could watch a YouTube tutorial, drive to the auto parts store, purchase all the necessary supplies and tools, and then spend 2 or 3 hours of your precious afternoon under your car, performing a task you likely don't enjoy. Alternatively, you could drive to a local auto shop, have the oil changed in 20 minutes, perhaps using that waiting time for a pleasant walk. In this second scenario, you effectively bought back 90 minutes or more of your life, freeing yourself to engage in activities you genuinely prefer, while also supporting someone providing a valuable service. A subscriber shared a similar story about needing to power wash his deck. He realized he no longer enjoyed the chore, so he hired someone. This simple decision gave him back 4 or 5 hours of his life, which he could then spend on more fulfilling pursuits, and he felt good about supporting another individual's livelihood. Our most successful clients often adopt this mindset. I do what I do best, and I pay for the rest. While affordability is always a consideration, the principle of strategically buying back your time by delegating tasks can be incredibly liberating. The ancient wisdom found in Ephesians, urging us to redeem the time, actually translates to buy back or buy up the time, a powerful concept that reinforces this modern advice. For us as retirement planners, we see our role in this light. Clients could spend countless hours researching, monitoring investments, and implementing complex tax strategies, or they can partner with us. Our goal is to help them achieve more time, money, peace of mind, and energy, demonstrating a clear return on their investment when they choose to buy our time. Ultimately, this approach leads to what we call SCCF, streamlined finances, clarity in planning, confidence in the future, and freedom to live life fully. Prioritize physical health and mental health in your 50s. The next profound piece of advice, and a living testament to the power of intention, comes from a 69-year-old client whose story profoundly impacted me. We had been meeting shortly after her husband's unexpected passing when she was 68. As is natural in such a heartbreaking situation, she felt profoundly lost. We worked through immediate necessities and then began to discuss potential aspirations for the coming year, things she might look forward to: travel, improving her health, and deepening her faith. She outlined specific goals under each. A year later, we met in person, and I was genuinely taken aback. I'm not exaggerating when I say that at first glance, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked utterly transformed, vibrant, radiating health, and completely renewed. Despite having no cosmetic procedures, she revealed that she had intentionally created new habits centered around both physical and mental well-being. She had started regular yoga and workout routines, dedicated time to meditation, and immersed herself in scripture. At 69, she genuinely looked like she was in her 50s. She told me, "I feel like I've added 10 healthy years to my life." This was a direct, living illustration of extending those healthy years, a concept we'd just discussed. It was incredibly inspiring and a powerful reminder that prioritizing physical and mental health in your 50s can dramatically expand that magical stage of life where time, money, and health align. By investing in ourselves now, we can extend our capacity to enjoy life to the fullest. Don't play the status game. Now we arrive at the seventh piece of advice, and as I mentioned earlier, this is the one I personally find myself struggling with, a very common trap for those in their 50s and retirees alike. It's an uncomfortable truth, but it often coincides with what many refer to as a midlife crisis. This is the concept of playing the status game, a term coined by author Will Storr in his insightful book. In essence, it means we frequently acquire possessions or experiences not purely for their intrinsic value or personal enjoyment, but to signal success, affirm our position, or to fit in with a particular social group. The stark reality, however, is that these outward displays rarely bring lasting happiness or deep fulfillment. Let me delve into why we often fall into this trap. Firstly, it's about validation and recognition. We yearn for tangible, visible markers of hard-earned success, something that outwardly proclaims, "Hey, I've made it." This external validation is a powerful driver for acquiring status symbols. Secondly, there's the pressure of comparison and social expectations. We, unfortunately, live in a society that too often measures an individual's worth by their possessions rather than their character or intrinsic qualities. This societal pressure can push us toward acquiring things to keep pace or impress. The third factor is identity and self-worth. Our identity is frequently intertwined with our careers. As we approach or enter retirement, a phase where our professional identity might shift or diminish, buying expensive items can become a subconscious way to reaffirm our self-worth, project an image of stability, power, or continued success. Finally, and perhaps most poignantly, there's the fear of irrelevance. As we navigate our 50s and beyond, we might grapple with the unsettling thought of fading relevance in a world that often disproportionately values youth. Owning high-status possessions can be a way to signal that we are still significant, still in the game, and still successful. Consider the client I mentioned earlier, who was 6 months into his retirement. During our planning session, he asked if we could model a scenario where he finally purchased his dream car, a Porsche, something he had always desired. He was retired, it was time to enjoy life, he reasoned. We incorporated it into his plan, and it barely impacted his overall financial health. He felt good about the decision and made the purchase. 6 months later, during a follow-up conversation about investment optimizations, I casually asked, "How's the Porsche?" You might anticipate his response. He admitted that while there's nothing inherently wrong with buying nice things, and I acknowledge our car enthusiast clients might disagree with this specific example, the initial excitement wore off within a couple of weeks. His profound reflection was, looking back, perhaps I should have just rented it for a month. That might have been enough. His advice to others is to explore renting the experience first before committing to an expensive purchase. He would have preferred to spend a fraction of the cost, perhaps $3,000 to $5,000, to rent the car for 30 days, truly enjoy the experience, and then decide if the long-term ownership was genuinely worth it. Instead, he spent a much larger sum, around $150,000, which he could afford, to come to the same realization. The lesson is clear. Renting experiences, even if it means spending money on something you'll never own, can save you a significant amount in the long run by preventing costly regrets. Expenses often go up, not down, in early retirement. The eighth piece of advice, consistently shared by multiple clients, challenges a widely held but often incorrect assumption, the belief that expenses automatically decrease in retirement. In reality, the exact opposite often occurs during the initial years of retirement. It typically takes a period of adjustment and a reworking of financial plans to realign everything. Having assisted countless individuals with their retirement plans over the past decade and a half, we frequently run what-if scenarios. We ask, what if your expenses are higher than you anticipate? What if you embark on significant trips, purchase a new car, or pursue other aspirations during your go-go years? We often discuss the concept of that equilateral triangle, the magical period when you have time, money, and health, and the desire to spend money while you're young and able. However, even with this foresight, actual expenses can still exceed expectations. For example, a recent conversation with clients involved their projected monthly expenses of $10,000. When we probed deeper, asking about various potential costs, they often dismissed them. Yet, during their first year of retirement, their actual expenses far surpassed their estimates. This is often driven by a now or never mentality. While they eventually adjusted their finances and things stabilized, the key takeaway is crucial. Start actively tracking your expenses now, in your 50s. Utilize tools like Monarch Money, which automatically categorizes your spending each month. This provides real, actionable data, knowing precisely how much you spend on groceries, dining out, or vacations. Instead of relying on mere guesswork when planning for retirement, this accurate data empowers you to make informed financial decisions. Prioritize and nurture your connections. The ninth piece of advice originates from a client who retired in his 50s and, with his newfound freedom, consciously dedicated himself to what he called the 3 C's, one of which is connection. He aimed to significantly increase his social connections, something he hadn't prioritized in the previous 30 busy years of his life. One of the powerful actions he took was reaching out to an old friend, one of his best men from his wedding, with whom he had lost touch during their late 20s, 30s, and 40s. Both had been immersed in busy careers as business owners and raising families, a period where time was always in short supply. Now, with more time at his disposal in retirement, he reconnected with his friend. He described the experience as if they had only stopped talking yesterday, a true mark of a deep and enduring friendship. This story resonates with many other clients in their 70s and 80s who express a common regret. They wish they had nurtured their relationships more diligently in their 50s, before retirement. It's incredibly easy to become consumed by work, daily responsibilities, and the relentless demands of life. But don't forget the profound importance of investing time and energy in those who truly matter. His advice is to make a conscious and sustained effort to reconnect with old friends, strengthen the bonds within your family, and remain open to meeting new people. This could involve joining clubs, pursuing shared interests, like the rock climber we mentioned earlier, or participating in community groups. These genuine connections are vital. They provide essential support, immense joy, a profound sense of belonging, and enrich the tapestry of your life during your later years. Plan for retirement with purpose, not just leisure. Finally, the 10th and perhaps most foundational piece of advice comes from clients who experienced high-stress jobs, individuals who were intensely driven and dedicated to their careers, often finding them increasingly demanding and eventually unsustainable. Due to their relentless schedules, many of these clients hadn't truly invested time in contemplating what they would genuinely do in retirement. Their sole focus was on escaping the stress, on achieving more rest and leisure. Financial security was often not their primary concern. They simply needed to stop working because the pressure was too overwhelming. However, a recurring pattern emerged. Within 6 months of retirement, many of these same clients would confess to feeling bored or question if this is all there is to retirement. Their advice to you, therefore, is profound. Don't merely run away from something. Instead, focus intently on what you will be running towards. Plan for a retirement filled not just with leisure, but with deep and meaningful purpose. It's never too early to begin exploring what that purpose might be. Start thinking about the things you genuinely enjoyed in your younger years, perhaps forgotten hobbies from your teens or 20s. Consider how you might integrate these passions into your current life, even on a small scale. You have the opportunity to embrace an incredibly fulfilling stage of life ahead. It's truly not too late for you. Take heed of the wisdom offered by those who have walked this path before you. Perhaps select 2 or 3 pieces of advice that resonated most deeply with you today. Write them down, save them, or re-watch this video and choose the most impactful insights. Then, set aside a peaceful, quiet morning with a cup of coffee to ponder these questions. Should you seek to further enhance your retirement planning, explore the additional resources provided. I trust this advice has been helpful. Take care.